It is important to have a correct birth time to produce an accurate BaZi reading. A wrong birth time may result in an incorrect hour pillar and in some cases, even the day pillar, resulting in a completely wrong reading. This is the reason why I always ask my clients for the exact time of birth, providing the minutes of their time of birth if possible. Subsequently, I will adjust the time of birth based on the location of birth to find out the real time. This ensures the authenticity and accuracy of the reading. Do you know that even the time of birth written on your birth certificate may not have been the real time? BaZi calculations are based on solar time, which was used before the advent of mechanical clocks. Modern time is very convenient for day-to-day living, but unfortunately it is usually not the correct time to use for BaZi calculations. Compensating for time variations across different locations and years is a rather complex issue. To illustrate why this is so, it is easier to explain with some examples. As the first example, we look at Singapore, a small island measuring 49 kilometers from east to west. The longitude of Singapore is 103.85 degrees east of Greenwich. Strictly speaking, Singapore is in the wrong time zone. In fact, there have been clear historical records of why this is so. Throughout history, Singapore time has changed several times. During 1933 to 1942, when Singapore was under the British, a bill was proposed to adopt daylight saving time just like in England. The proposed time was 30 minutes forward of the mean time, that is 7 hours 30 minutes ahead of Greenwich Mean Time. However, the Legislative Council found 30 minutes to be too large a shift and compromised on 20 minutes instead. On 1st of January 1933, the Daylight Saving Ordinance came into effect with Singapore's time set at 7 hours 20 minutes ahead of Greenwich Mean Time. Eventually, the Daylight Saving Ordinance was amended to 30 minutes ahead. What this meant was that Singapore time would be 7 hours 30 minutes instead of 7 hours 20 minutes ahead of Greenwich Mean Time. The amendment came into effect in 1941. Between 1942 to 1945, during the Japanese occupation, Singapore time moved ahead by 1 hour 30 minutes to conform with Tokyo Standard Time, which is 9 hours ahead of Greenwich Mean Time. And from 1945 to present, after the Second World War, Singapore time reverted to 7 hours 30 minutes ahead of Greenwich Mean Time. However, there was one final change in store for Singapore time. In 1981, Malaysia declared that West Malaysia would move their clocks ahead by 30 minutes to match the time in East Malaysia. That is 8 hours ahead of Greenwich Mean Time. Singapore announced that it would follow suit. As a press release from the Administration of Trade and Industry explained, quoting, "In view of the many close ties between the peoples and governments of Singapore and Malaysia, and to avoid inconvenience to businessmen and travelers, the government has decided that Singapore will also adjust its present time half an hour ahead of 1st of January 1982 so that both countries have a common time zone." These pragmatic reasons explain why Singapore time is 8 hours ahead of Greenwich Mean Time despite our geographical location. The reference meridian of Singapore was 103 degrees 51 minutes east, and the time offset from Greenwich Mean Time was 6 hours and 55 minutes. So let's say you are born on 15th of August 1980 at 1:30 a.m. It will be wrong to use that time for BaZi calculation. Since the longitude of Singapore is 103.85 degrees, the difference from the reference meridian is 8.65 degrees. Each degree represents 4 minutes, so the total is 34.6 or rounded up to 35 minutes. Now, since the actual Singapore longitude is the west of the reference meridian, we need to deduct 35 minutes from the birth time. To repeat what has been mentioned earlier on, let's say you are born on 15th of August 1980 at 1:30 a.m. If you had calculated this BaZi without the time adjustment, it would be of the ox hour and ding yin fire hour stamp with a gun day master sitting on sun. However, if we are to plot this BaZi chart taking time adjustments into consideration, the date and time of birth would become 15th of August 1980 at 12:55 a.m. This person is born in the Zi or red hour, and the hourly stamp is Bing Yang fire. And this will not only result in a different BaZi chart, likewise it will result in a different Zi Wei Dou Shu chart. For this case, the impact of the time adjustments is minor, but what if the birth time is 12:30 a.m.? The impact will be major, even the day pillar would be changed. Additionally, modern timekeeping defines a day as the sum of 24 hours, but that is not entirely correct. Earth's orbit is not a perfect circle, it is slightly oval-shaped. This means that there's one point in the orbit where Earth is closest to the Sun and another where Earth is furthest from the Sun. The closest point occurs in early January and the far point happens in early July. The Earth's rotation is not constant, so in terms of solar time, most days are little longer or shorter than 24 hours. The Moon is gradually slowing the Earth's rotation because of friction produced by tides. Over the course of a century, the length of a day decreases by a couple of milliseconds, where 1 millisecond equals to 0.001 seconds. Within this general trend, however, there is fluctuation. Sometimes the Earth spins a bit faster, sometimes a bit slower. Recently, our planet has been speeding up a little, making for slightly shorter days. This is also one of the reasons why predictions nowadays would occur sooner than expected, because our ancient lunar calendar might not have caught up with the actual speed of movements of the stars. But I will not diverge into this. Therefore, it is important to understand that due to the practice of daylight saving in some countries and the adjustments of official time due to political and social reasons, our date and time of birth must be adjusted accordingly. When plotting a BaZi chart, and if you don't know how to go about it, you should consult a professional astrologer or BaZi practitioner to adjust it for you. And if the astrologer or BaZi practitioner does not even know this, then you should go and find someone else who knows fully what he is doing. You should not waste your time and money having the wrong BaZi chart interpreted for you.